Hey, Foot Clan. It's the last day to get the DFS pass at only $10. A lot of people think that deal was already over, mostly because Andy emailed everybody and said that deal's over.
I thought it was over Monday.
It's not over. The coupon still works.
It ends today, though.
DFS10 is the coupon. Use it at dfspass.com to get the rest of the season and playoffs for $10. Check it out, dfspass.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Redraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to Wednesday, and it's just Jason and myself.
And
Mike,
Jay Grizz.
Mike is still in a distant land.
But Andy.
Yes.
Mike is my favorite.
Well, I'm sorry.
When does Mike get back? You shut your mouth, Jay Grizz.
He gets back after the week. After the week is done.
He'll be here Monday.
He keeps uploading these pathetic, joyful pictures of his family enjoying themselves in Disneyland.
Well, then I'll be back Monday.
But we've got a good show for you today. We'll get you ready for Week 13. And we have Pump the Brakes on the show. We've got some news. There are some new articles on the website, a snap count observation article. Always great on thefantasyfootballers.com. And a big shout-out to everybody who joined us on the Facebook Live event yesterday as we raised money for the Stomp Out Bullying campaign. It was Giving Tuesday. We had a lot of fun jumping on there, talking to many of you, and we just want to say thank you for all of the very kind and generous donations that you made to this campaign. Shout out to David Johnson for sharing news of our live event. So got the exposure out there, raised some more funds. So we are excited to have a great show today. You can follow us on Twitter at the FFBallers. Brooks, how are you doing this fine morning?
I'm terrific. Thanks for asking, Andy.
That's good. That's good. You made an appearance on the live.
Oh, that's right.
On the live event.
People got to see you right at the end of the live event. Everyone always wants to see
Brooks,
the famous Judge Giamatti.
Yeah, but he made a very up close and personal appearance at the end of the live event, which was great.
You'll have to follow us. So Andy decided, because we had so much fun doing that yesterday, that we're going to do more Facebook Live events. So make sure to go to facebook.com/fantasyfootballers.
That is correct.
If you follow us there, then when we go live, you'll get a notification. You can hang out, and you just might see the judge.
That's right.
That don't come for the fantasy
football
football
I was going to say, you could
advice.
also get fantasy advice, but the judge.
The judge.
Now, we got a two-man this. Are you, is that a cup of coffee,
This
Jason?
is a cup of black coffee.
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm
It's
so ready.
Wednesday,
We've
so-
got so many listener mailbag questions. This is an important time of year.
Well, we start with Pump the Brakes.
O'Reilly.
Auto parts.
Ow!
Very nice, Jason.
Mike is the musical guy, and I had to take it up a notch there. And
And you did.
I did. I'd give myself a solid C+.
That's fine. That's
It's
passing.
passing.
Yeah. All right. Pump the Brakes with O'Reilly Auto Parts once again, jumping in, giving you a couple names. Now I am on a bit of a cold streak.
a bit of a streak here.
You might want to pump the brakes on my Pump the Brakes over the last 2 weeks. I had a very nice run through the season, and then the last 2 weeks, I think I pumped the brakes on what? Larry Fitzgerald and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I will say this. Here's what I'll say in defense of.
There's no defending.
No, there's absolutely no defending pumping the brakes on Keenan Allen last week. However, what I'm saying is when you pump the brakes on Keenan Allen, Mike and I said don't listen to this man, and that was foolish. So we didn't. I don't think anybody was led astray, because I don't think they would follow.
I did
your advice.
specifically say pumping the brakes doesn't mean benching a guy. It means changing your expectations.
However, I totally agree and love your pump the brakes this week.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm going with Big Ben Roethlisberger. He has 2 straight 42-point fantasy games at home, and now he travels to Cincinnati. I think a lot of people are excited, and I'm pumping the brakes on Big Ben. And let me tell you why. Not only is it the home road split, right, but I looked back at games against Cincinnati over the last 3 years. by Big Ben. He averages half a touchdown less against Cincinnati. He averages more interceptions. He averages about 35, 40 fewer yards per game. And if you take that split and you take it further and you go to games in Cincinnati, that's when it really, really changes. He averages half a touchdown total in Cincinnati over the last 2 games he's played there over the last 2 years. His yards go down. I just think that this is look, Cincinnati is actually in the race. We think that they are basically a winless franchise the way it feels sometimes for fantasy this year and the way that they started the year, which leaves you with that impression throughout the year, but they're actually in the race here. And this is a big game for them. And they're at home, and they have a sensible defense. You're not going to see Big Ben throw 4 touchdowns again.
No.
Which is what he's done the last
People want to stay in the flames, but what you have to remember is when we talk about staying in the flames on a guy that maybe we didn't believe in, that's the 3-pack. You got to do that 3 weeks in a row. Big Ben has had 2 home games in a row, and Big Ben has done this so many times. Think back a couple years ago. I think he had back-to-back 5-touchdown games in the middle of just a disappearing act of fantasy irrelevance. So I like pumping the brakes here because I believe there are going to be a lot of fantasy players who start Big Ben this week. They're not going to listen to you, and they should. I'm going to pump the brakes this week on another guy who's had back-to-back great games, especially this last one, Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman's great. He's a talented running back, but even the best running backs have a very, very difficult time against the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings defense, their run defense, what caused me to really pump the brakes here on Tevin Coleman is looking at – last night I was doing the research for tomorrow's show and Friday's show, trying to find out how have defenses fared over the last 4 weeks and digging in deep on that, not just looking at over the season. And what I noticed was, a ton of change, right? If you look at just the season totals of this team is good against this position or bad against this position, and you look at the last 4 weeks, they're so different, except not with Minnesota. Minnesota has been good in the beginning, the middle, recently against running backs. They are a stifling defense against running backs. You have Tevin Coleman, whose expectations are going to be too high, coming off of 2 touchdowns, and then news came out today.
That's what I thought this was all related to.
No, it was all about the Minnesota Vikings matchup, and then Devonta Freeman has cleared the concussion protocol, so he will be the starter. This is a game where I usually say light up both guys. Start Tevin Coleman, start Devonta Freeman when they're both healthy. Put them active. Now I'm saying this week, Tevin Coleman, he's a flex option. So if you've got a really good matchup with a different guy, in that flex range, I would be willing to bench Coleman in that situation. I'm not saying you have to, but you've got to temper expectations. You can't just look at he's going to retain this goal line role.
Well, the essence of pump the brakes is you look at last week, 2 touchdowns, like you said, temper your expectations. Devonta Freeman plus Minnesota means temper your expectations.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
If you did miss the code from when we talked about it before the show, the last day for the DFS Pass $10 is today. DFSpass.com. The code is DFS10. DFS10 will expire after today if you want that deal.
DFS10. If you spell out 10, it won't work. It's true. It's a true story.
All right, Michael Crabtree and Aqib Talib, their suspensions were reduced to 1 game. Okay.
I think that's why they got 2 games. They got 2 games because they're like, well, they're going to appeal. We'll come back. They just need to be suspended. However, I need to take one brief second. I agree with the suspension. I think that it was worthy. Seeing what happened, replaying that in my mind, and then realizing that A.J. Green did not get a suspension of any kind for his thing that was way, in my opinion, way more egregious.
Oh, not at all for me. Not even close. Not
10
even
times.
Not even remotely
now it's 100.
close.
Now it's 100 times. Okay.
How is that?
Now it's 200 times.
AJ Green.
200 times more egregious.
AJ Green's.
You want to keep playing this game?
Okay, whatever.
I feel like I'm talking to the kid like,
whatever.
oh, no,
I mean,
you're
this is
grounded
like
an extra day.
The Crabtree-Talib fight was helmets off, sideline, knocking people over, lasted a long duration, the benches cleared, other ejections, punches thrown. I mean, AJ Green.
That was a fight.
AJ
Green's wasn't. AJ Green went up against a guy who had his back turned, choked him out, and suplexed him from his neck.
It took a couple seconds,
and
though.
And then continued punching him on the ground.
Yeah, we disagree. It's not even close to me.
All right, if you're watching on YouTube, I need a comment. Go, because you're on YouTube. You can find the videos. And then how egregious.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I mean, we can disagree. Obviously, the NFL is in line with my opinion. They didn't suspend AJ Green. They suspended Crabtree for 2 games.
So I would say shame on the NFL for agreeing with Andy Holloway.
There you go. Shame on everyone for that great offense. But Crabtree, for fantasy owners, you get him back a game earlier. We don't know the status yet of Amari Cooper, and we'll keep you up to date on that this week. Otherwise, Seth Roberts suddenly looks like a very streamable flex wide receiver option if he's alone. Same with Jared Cook being a much higher upside play at tight end.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn, like we said, Devonta Freeman cleared the concussion protocol. Is going to practice on Wednesday. I expect him to play. I think he wanted to play last week. Now he's clear. Now he's going to play. This was big news. We talked about it on the live event. Geno Smith is starting at quarterback for the Giants this week. Now, if you don't know the way that this went down, basically Eli Manning made this happen in a way because the plan for the Giants for the remainder of the season, they were going to let Eli start this game, and then Geno was going to play the second half. That was the plan. And Eli realized and kind of just said, look, they're only doing this to keep my streak intact. I'm going to be a good teammate. Let Geno start. I'll be the backup. And it's still a hard thing for him to go through, but he didn't want to just start the game just because they're trying to check a box in his record.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the actual thing that happened. And then Davis Webb, they also communicated to him that Davis Webb was going to get worked in towards the end of this year.
Absolutely.
And so now you have Geno Smith starting this game, and everyone wants to know specifically Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard. Can you even count on them? Is there any predictability there? And what do you do even with Geno Smith, who – while he's struggled in his NFL career, he actually has had a number of very productive quarterback starts for the Jets in the past. Now they get the Raiders this week. So Darkwa, Ingram, Shepard, and Smith.
Yeah, so because you see the changing of the guard here, when you look at the running game, I think that, Darkwa has been the more efficient runner. He's been powerful and looked great, but Wayne Gallman ended up getting the higher snap percentage this last game. And if you're looking towards the future and you're saying, okay, we need to know what are our pieces here, they're probably going to give more play to the rookie, which leads me to believe that their running game will be more fruitless. I kind of want – I think if Darkwa was the clear starter and they were giving him the work, he's talented enough to get the job done. With Geno is actually a streamable option, if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, just because of his rushing yardage. When he last played as a regular starter for the Jets, I think his last 4 games would have put him on pace for 4,000 yards, 25-plus touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 300 rushing yards. Now, he's being thrust into a team that stinks, where all their weapons are injured, and so I don't expect good things all around for the New York Giants.
I have more confidence in Evan Ingram's involvement with Geno Smith than I do Sterling Shepard, simply because Eli Manning and Sterling Shepard had a long rapport together. Evan Ingram at least represents that, check down option, the bigger target, which, for a catch radius for Geno Smith.
You need that big catch radius.
Not the most
Geno
accurate
Smith is
guy.
your quarterback.
But confidence levels, they have to decrease. We don't know what this is going to look like. And we don't know if – this game could end up Geno Smith for the first half, Davis Webb for the second, for all we know. We just – whatever plans that they have for their quarterback position are based on evaluating for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start for the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday.
Of course he is, because he's the better quarterback, period.
Okay. He could struggle, though.
Of course he will.
First start.
Because it's the San Francisco 49ers.
So
San Francisco 49ers are playing at Chicago, underrated defense, the colder weather. I think Garoppolo is an okay – like, who would you rather start, Garoppolo or –
I'd rather play Geno Smith against Oakland. Is that what you were going to ask?
Yeah, that is what I was going to ask. I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one I would rather start on that. We'll have a definitive answer here pretty soon, but with these two changes, there's a little bit more research that needs to be done. I guess because of the defense, or lack thereof in Oakland, I probably lean that way with Geno's legs.
How about neither?
Floor.
Can we do neither?
We can definitely do neither.
Darren McFadden is retired from the NFL, so he did not sign with another team after he was waived by the Cowboys, and he is no longer. Farewell, Run DMC.
Yeah.
Man, I can think back to owning him with the Raiders and all the promise and hope of DMC being that fantasy just juggernaut. I loved the way he ran when he ran well.
He was
had
for a while.
One solid year, really, in Oakland.
One great year. I feel like he had a couple decent.
Was it great? Was it really great?
That's how it feels in my heart. I don't know. Maybe you can.
I think he got hurt that year. I think he started the year strong in Oakland. I'm gonna look up his best year in Oakland, and
he also had a really strong year for the Cowboys when
absolutely.
I mean, he
put up 1,107 in 2010 and 13 games. Never played 16 games for Oakland until his final year in Oakland, where he only had 2 touchdowns and 500 yards. So disappointing career, no doubt about it. Only 1,000 yards or more, 2 times in his entire career.
2 times.
2 times. So, all right. Without further ado, I think we're going to preview the Thursday night game.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Redskins take on the Cowboys. Both teams are 5-6. The Cowboys are favored at home. This is a 44. Not for me.
Really?
No, not shockingly to me. The Redskins have had, up and down, a very up and down year. They're 5-6 as well, and then the Cowboys being at home. I know that Dak struggled, but you've still got pass catchers struggling mightily in Washington. You look at last week and all the hope we had for Josh Doxson and Vernon Davis, and those 2 guys really didn't deliver. This week, I mean, do you have any confidence in the tight end position for Washington after the gooser by Vernon Davis?
I do. I mean, I really do still believe in Vernon Davis. He's been, you can't just go by the last game. He has been a very solid fantasy option at tight end pretty much the entire season. Jordan Reed, shocker, still not practicing. Dallas is, middle of the pack against tight end, and you just can't overreact to these gooses. That's the nickname came for Hunter Henry. He was the goose because he went out when everybody thought he was going to be great. Yes, the goose is loose. Someone catch him. And if you just said, well, he had that really bad game, I'm not going to play him, you would have missed out on a lot of really great games after that from Hunter Henry like this past week. So I am not off of Vernon Davis at all.
It happens a lot more at the tight end position for what it's worth. I mean, last week you saw Jared Cook. We're telling you he's a great start this week. He was 1 for 1 last week. That's as close to a goose as you can get without goosing.
Mm-hmm.
You had Evan Ingram had a game like that earlier this year. It happens.
Yeah, for
but
everybody.
The downfield talent is there for Vernon Davis still. And the weapons are not. I mean, they're limited in their weapons right now in Washington. Speaking of which, Samaje Perine, you can roll him out there.
Certainly.
Josh Doxson, Jamison Crowder. Would you start both as 2s?
I think so. I mean, the defense is a little banged up for the Cowboys. I don't know if we have an update on Sean Lee, but this is a team that has played, if you look at, this will be their 3rd game in something crazy, like 17 days or they're tired and they're reeling. I don't trust Dallas right now. That's why I'm so surprised at this line. I feel like I don't see how Dallas wins this game. If Jason had a Jason's almost upset of the week, this would be the game I'd be pushing the button on.
Sean Lee's not expected to play.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooks. So, in that case, I would Doxson, and I'd fire up all the Redskins. I really would.
I want to talk about Dez Bryant in this situation. You said you don't trust the Cowboys. This is one of the reasons I wanted to break down the defensive metrics, not just through the year, but over the last 4 weeks. And you go look at the Redskins, and you look at the way they've played through the year. On the year, they're the 6th best defense against fantasy wide receivers. They only give up 22.9 points a game on the year. But over the last 4 weeks, even with Josh Norman, this defense has been more porous when it comes to every position, but mostly the wide receiver position, now up to 28 points a game given up to the wide receiver. Dez Bryant, I mean, this is a bad Washington Redskins defense from a fantasy perspective over the last 4 weeks. 23rd against quarterbacks, 25th against running backs, 19th against wideouts, 29th against tight ends. So now you're looking at a situation where, A, Cowboys' offense has struggled, but the Redskins' defense has struggled, and Dallas is at home. How confident would you be in Dez Bryant as a wide receiver 2 this week?
It's tough. It's tough to be. Look, he gets enough targets right now from Dak where I guess my confidence in him being a 2 is decently high. There's it's not a low over-under for Vegas in this game. Dez will clearly be the number 1 target. So, yeah, if you're talking a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, I think that's okay. Really, the Redskins haven't been that bad against wide receiver. You bring up a really good point. They have had Josh Norman recently, and, so he's been back the last couple weeks when they've been bad against wide receiver, but if you dig a little deeper into those numbers, they were unbelievable against the New York Giants last week. They were all right against Seattle and New Orleans, but they had that game 3 games ago against Minnesota where everything went to the wide receivers, 251 yards and 3 touchdowns to wide receivers.
Well, New York last week, you said unbelievable against who? Roger Lewis?
Sure.
And Tavarius King?
Against the opponent that they had to face.
Sure.
They couldn't do anything better than they gave up 62 yards to wide receiver. And I do completely understand. That's as much on Eli Manning and the Giants.
So Dez, he's going to match up against Norman, though, and I'm with you. I think he's a 2-3 flex position at best. I'd be comfortable starting Alfred Morris in this game. He's looked pretty good. Deeper leagues, Rod Smith, we brought him up yesterday. I would avoid him unless you're in a really deep league. And then Jason Witten, he's kind of been up and down on the total target, total reception numbers. 7 receptions last week. Redskins struggle against the tight end quite a bit. If Josh Norman's locked down, or I'm sorry, if Des Bryant's locked down by Josh Norman, does Jason Witten have streaming upside this week?
Witten's always that fallback guy to me. Like, I never really want to play him because I don't feel like his upside is usually there unless he's playing someone like the Giants or Cleveland. But 7 receptions, 2 out of the last 3 games says it's funny. You go, if you told me, hey, you're going to get 7 receptions out of a guy, he's going to be the tight end I want. But in both of those games, is 59 yards and 44 yards. So it's not like he's getting downfield work, rarely getting
in the end zone.
In the end zone. So
Witten this week or Charles Clay this week against New England?
I really worry more and more. I was giving advice to stream Tyrod early in the week.
I told you I'm not on him this week.
I'm not either, man. I worry that the New England Patriots, maybe it's because I've been looking at the recent defenses and I'm focused on that right now, but New England Patriots have been great, and they shut down your number 1 option, that's Clay, so I think I would lean Witten.
Okay. Well, look, let's take a second. Let's thank our sponsors, the sponsors of today's show, and we're going to start with Movement Watches. That's MVMT Movement Watches, and look, I've got a problem. Like when people ask me, it's probably not a problem for many people, but when my parents ask me for like Christmas gift ideas, I've got nothing to give them. I can never come up with something. There's a lot of gift-giving anxiety that goes on around the holidays. You don't know what to get people, and the essence of these Movement Watches is you can make that disappear with the press of a button. They are the perfect purchase as a gift because they start at $95. So they're finely crafted, beautiful watches. We absolutely love our Movement Watches, and you can finish that whole holiday anxiety rush with a great gift that is going to make an impact when you give it to somebody. So skip the crowds, skip the standing in lines, find a gift that they absolutely love. They start at $95, like I said, wonderful gifts, and you get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns just in case you don't love it, you're not feeling it, but you will. You're going to love it. Go to mvmt.com, okay? mvmt.com/footballers, and you get 15% off. That's mvmt.com/footballers. This watch has a really clean design. It makes a great fashion statement, and now is the time to step up your watch game. Go to mvmt.com/footballers and join the movement.
Yeah, I agree. It is so hard to find good gifts during the holidays.
What are you getting me?
Well, millions of people every year, what they're giving people is underwear, gifts of underwear, gifts that people hate. They open it up and they go, why'd you get me underwear? And we love our family. They need it, and so we keep getting it. But maybe it's not underwear that's the problem. Maybe it is the underwear that you're giving them that crappy canvas feeling nasty
Burlap sack.
underwear. No, if you've listened to the show, you know we're big fans of MeUndies. MeUndies takes underwear to a whole nother level. I mean, you're sitting on a cloud. The softest material you can imagine. It stays dry. They put technology and effort and care and style into underwear. And I remember thinking back in the day when we first started like advertising MeUndies, going, man,
can it really make that much of a difference?
Can it make that much of a difference? Does it matter? And then it's like, wait a minute. I spend my entire life in underwear. Like it's the closest thing to me. Maybe
so it's piles of it.
Maybe make it good. So look, this holiday season, do your friends a favor, get them MeUndies, and you can get 20% off the softest underwear and socks you'll ever wear, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go to MeUndies.com/footballers. Once again, MeUndies.com/footballers.
All right, we're going to jump into some questions. By the way, the rankings, they're up later today on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, your Week 13 rankings. Brooks still has a smirk on his face. I think he was entertained by the underwear read. Is that correct?
I'm just having a great time.
You're just having a good time?
Yep.
You must be wearing MeUndies over there.
Yeah.
That's
Look
right.
at that smile.
We're going to jump into the mailbag today. We're going to let Jay Grizz take care of it. How's that sound?
That sounds delightful.
Mailbag.
Poorly
give it
timed, Jay Grizz. Poorly timed.
Yeah.
If you have a question, you want to submit it to the podcast, the Fantasy Footballers. We try to answer as many as we can, get you ready for your week, and you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button. You can also dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. Again, that's 302-464-TFFB. We're actually going to start with a voicemail question today.
Oh, all right.
What's up, guys? My name's Tyler from Kankakee, Illinois. I had a question regarding next year's keepers in my half-point PPR keeper league. I'm between Jordan Howard and Mark Ingram. Being uncertain of Alvin Kamara's role next year, I was a little iffy on keeping Ingram next year. So, and Jordan Howard's got a pretty locked-up role. So I just wanted to know what you guys think. Love you guys. Thank you.
We love you too.
Oh.
So before you give the analysis, because obviously that's what we're here to do. I just want to hear who your pick is.
Ingram.
Mine would be Howard.
Interesting.
I don't think Ingram's there next year.
I do.
Okay. Well, let's give analysis then.
Well, my analysis is it starts with his question about Alvin Kamara and what his role is going to be. And Alvin Kamara, if you look at what he's succeeded in doing this year, it's not been on the back of volume, and it never will be. Alvin Kamara is not a large man. He's built somewhat like, I mean, I guess you could make an argument that he's Jamal Charles size, and if they wanted to give him the ball all the time, they could. But they want to keep him healthy. They want to utilize him in the passing game. They want to utilize him in ways that are high impact. And that's, if you look at what Sean Payton said so far this year, Sean Payton said the only thing holding Kamara back is me, in the sense that, look, I am going to restrict that role. He's always had multiple running backs in New Orleans. And I think Mark Ingram is the better pick here because I think this role is solidified there. And assuming he doesn't leave New Orleans, you have a much better team. What we've seen this year from Jordan Howard is great game, dud. Great game, mediocre game. You do have other, you say his role's locked up. Well, Tariq Cohen's going to be used as well. Tariq Cohen's going to be used kind of like Alvin Kamara's been used. So I still like Jordan Howard, his youth. But if you're in a keeper league where you're looking at just next year, I still lean Ingram, which is crazy because you are much more the Ingram.
Ingram was a my guy this year, and I don't remember if he was the previous year, but he's certainly always been a love affair of mine. I'm all about Mark Ingram, but the reality is this. If you have to pick your keeper now, I think there's a chance Mark Ingram ends up getting out of his contract this year because his contract says if he basically makes all pro level and he's on his way to that, that his contract would be just void. He's an unrestricted free agent and he can go after the money. If that happens and he changes teams, I think it's going to be a bad situation for his fantasy. But if you can wait, if you can hold off and wait until the off season where that, okay, he's still under contract for another year. If he's on the Saints and assuming Drew Brees is there and Sean Payton is there, then I would much prefer Mark Ingram over Jordan Howard. In fact, I would say Mark Ingram's role is more secure there than Jordan Howard's is for Chicago.
I believe that they only select 2 running backs to the All-Pro team. I don't think Ingram is going to – I don't think Ingram and eggs there. I don't think Ingram is going to make the All-Pro team as one of those top 2. I think Todd Gurley's going to have that thing.
Not if he does what happened last week. Come on, Mark, get it together.
Oh, not if Mark does?
Yes.
I thought you meant Gurley. I think Gurley's going to be in there. But we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, that's just the way I lean. He's averaging about 3.5 to 4 fantasy points per game more than Howard thus far this year. Guess I'm just scared of that Bears offense and what happens.
Yeah, it's a matter of offense. The New Orleans Saints, if you go back the last half decade, even longer, it's like 8 years, they're as a team, their running back statistics as a team for receiving touchdowns, receptions, rushing touchdowns, almost every metric, it's up in like the top 5. They are a great running team, and I don't know why people – it seems like every year because of Drew Brees, they forget about the quality of rushing attempts from New Orleans.
Yeah, I think it has to do with what we saw from Ingram the year before and the weird Hightower usage. I think people wanted to trust him. They just
he still finished as a top 10 running back.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know it was
but
a little bit
DeMarco
more
Murray's
hot
the
and cold.
13th best running back this year. It's not always like you said. It doesn't always feel that way. And then they go and Hightower's gone, but they go and sign AP. So the confidence level is decreased. You don't know what Kamara was. I just think it's a matter of confidence levels that have changed. So I hope he comes back.
Yeah, me too.
He's a great
I'm
runner.
A huge Mark Ingram fan.
Ethan in Virginia wants to know, he said a team in his league announced that since the playoffs are locked in, and he's in, they will be dumping their entire roster solely to create havoc. Am I a bad owner if I want to capitalize on this?
I didn't see the question
and
going to
should he be removed from the league?
I didn't see the question going to is it okay if I pick these guys up? I thought he was going to say like this is wrong, right? Which of course it's clearly wrong.
It's wrong, but then if you're stuck in a league where they're going to permit that, are you wrong to pick them up? And I'd probably not. I'd probably try to push really, really hard to get this guy kicked out of the league and those players to be ineligible.
Yeah, the first thing before kicking the owner out is to get those players ineligible. You've got to talk to the commissioner or talk to the league and make sure everyone agrees those guys are untouchable. They should not be able to be picked up by you or by anybody else. If the league decides, no, they're out there, we don't want to do that, or your commissioner, you can't get a hold of them and they're going through waivers, then you best get in on that action.
Breaking news.
Janoris Jenkins has been placed on injured reserve.
Whoa.
So I brought it up yesterday that I didn't think he was going to play this week. And what they have the matchup with
Seth Roberts, the Oakland
or Amari Cooper if he's back out there. So
yeah, hopefully Cooper's healthy this week. If not, I mean, honestly, Seth Roberts, he's 99% available. So there's that 1% of league that you might be in where
29% of a wide receiver. So.
And yet he's used like a wide receiver one. I mean, his target usage around the goal line the last 3 years is infuriating because he should get 1 target per year around the goal line. That way he gets his obligatory drop. Seth Roberts is not good, but the volume will overcome. It was just like me hating on Damian Williams, but knowing he's a good fantasy play.
I don't think Damian Williams or Seth Roberts are coming on our show anytime soon.
I don't think they're welcome on our
goodness.
show.
Oh, my
yeah, I mean, that's not fair.
The holidays, you got the holiday spirit going on.
The Grinch over here.
Richard in Seattle, Danny Amendola or Danny Woodhead. It's a flex position in a full PPR league. Also has Rex Burkhead on his bench. What would you do in that situation? And please don't say eat a white chocolate-dipped Oreo.
Well, now that you bring it up, I would definitely eat a white chocolate-dipped Oreo. Rex Burkhead is actually really tempting there, but you're playing with fire because Rex Burkhead could go out and get 12 carries and 4 receptions or 2 carries and 1 reception, but he's probably the highest ceiling player out of those guys. So, but between Amendola and Danny Woodhead, I lean towards Danny Woodhead in a full point PPR.
Yeah, I think the time of confidence in Danny Amendola is come and gone this year, and so I'm with you. I'd be leaning the Danny Woodhead way. That would be the Danny I'd choose. All right. Andrew wants to know off of Twitter, if Case Keenum becomes a starter rest of season, does that make him an auto start in fantasy football? Mr. Pro Bowl Case Keenum lover, Jason. Why don't you answer this one?
Absolutely. I love Case Keenum. He has looked great. If they say he is a starter no matter what rest of season, you still do not roll him out week in, week out. There are very few quarterbacks that I say they're pretty much matchup proof, and I'm going to start him every single week. I mean, you've got Tom Brady, Russell Wilson,
Carson Wentz
right now, yeah. I think the list might end there. Can you think of anybody else that you would say, look, if he's in a terrible matchup, you got to start him?
In a no matter what situation?
Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees used to be there. He's not there. Alex Smith looked like he was going to be there. Certainly not. Dak Prescott was on his way.
Is Cousins or Stafford an auto start to you?
No.
Stafford might be real close.
Yeah, I would say both those guys are real close. So Case Keenum doesn't crack that list.
Also,
Case Keenum is far enough down where do yourself a favor in the playoffs and have a quarterback with a great matchup every single week.
I don't really want to go into Carolina like the Vikings do in 2 weeks in Carolina and play Case Keenum.
Exactly.
So, but I'm sure he'd love to be called an auto start, and I can understand. His desire to be there. All right, Kyle in Flint, Michigan. Have you been to Flint, Brooks?
Yeah.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're from Michigan, right?
Yeah, about an hour or so from where I lived.
Just curious. Any geography questions around Michigan, I'm going to turn to you. Okay.
You should actually
this is where I'm gonna
focus on if you bring geography questions to me instead of Brooks, you'll get far more entertaining answers because I have no idea where anything is. I mean, when I found out that Green Bay was in relative proximity to, like, what was it? It was Cleveland, I think. Like, I thought if you told me Green Bay and Cleveland are at least 2,000 miles apart, I'd be like, correct.
I took a shot in the dark over here, Jason, and I searched for Paul Giamatti's birthplace.
No.
In hopes that it was somehow Michigan, but it's New Haven, Connecticut.
Close enough. They're next-door neighbors.
Yeah, we'll turn to you on that one. Okay. I think I'm asking a question from Kyle in Flint, Michigan. Would you roster Aaron Rodgers for the possible return in Week 15 or 16, and what do you think the chances are that he makes a return at all this year?
Man, if you asked me last week, I would have said no. The team is still – it looks like right now they're not going to be able to make the playoffs come Week 15 and 16. I anticipate that in Week 15, Green Bay is not going to be able to catch up. And so if that's the case, you leave Aaron Rodgers out. But he looks to be healing nice. We all saw him throwing in warm-ups before their last game, throwing over 50 yards in the air already, eligible to come back Week 15. This would be, to me, a matter of need for your roster, what else is out there, and a matter of bench depth. I would rather have a defense that's going to play in Week 15 against Cleveland or 16 against Cleveland, or I would rather have those than an Aaron Rodgers if needed. But if you can have both, if you've got 6, 7 deep on your bench,
it's not just bench spot; it's IR. I mean, if you're in ESPN league right now, he's eligible for IR.
Well,
so if you're in a league with an IR spot and he's available on waivers for some reason, that's a no-brainer situation.
Yes, I agree.
You just tuck him away just in case it gets.
Come on back
serious,
man. My dynasty team. You're talking all this undefeated talk. Because your team is 12-0. Oh, this was another great thing. If you weren't on the Facebook live event, so apparently the technology for Facebook Live, it mirrors everything. So when we were
I don't
in
know
our
if it's
set,
really Facebook Live. I feel like it's
probably
it's
us.
an iPad.
It's us.
Yeah, everything
so
was
the technology
backwards.
we used for Facebook Live was backwards. So if you're reading the fantasy footballers, it's the
Yes, that's our show.
And so Andy tries to write down his record in a mirror form and hold it up so that he can tout his team. And
what is my record again?
It was 0-12 is how it showed up, which was delightful.
Let's just be clear about that. I did incorrectly write that on the paper, but I am a 12-0 franchise. We need to get this out there. We need the people to be aware not only of my undefeated record, but of the fact that I have one remaining game. And who is that against?
Oh, the judge.
Going down.
Take him down,
I
Brooks.
am not, Brooks.
Take him down.
One game stands between me and a perfect season in our Dynasty League.
No.
A perfect regular season in our dynasty
There you
league.
go. And I will make you say that every single time you ever want to bring that up. You get the championship, or you did not have a perfect season.
If I get the championship and I go 15-0,
Oh, I'll
the
die.
amount,
We'll all die.
The amount of things that I'm going to order for
There's going to be banners up in here.
the fantasy champs, like I will fund their entire company because I'm going to be buying rings and trophies and banners and jerseys.
I got a ring for every week of the season.
Oh my goodness! Everything will be engraved with the perfect season on it. There will be no doubt about that. So get on the bandwagon.
But
Jurassic DeLoreans, 12-0.
My Ventura Bravehearts, we're looking strong.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get Aaron Rodgers back in Week 15, I'm knocking you out.
Yeah, you need to win this week to make the playoffs.
That's true, and I'm going heads up against the Hitman.
Yeah.
So
go, Mike. All right, Hashtags in Dallas writes in, which tight end would you rather have rest of season, Delaney Walker or Evan Ingram? Asking for a friend. That's an easy one, guys. Delaney Walker times a million. Delaney Walker's been great over that past handful of weeks. The volume is just much more guaranteed for Delaney Walker. I'm not even going to let Jason answer that one. I'm going to let him answer this one. Cody in Michigan. Oh, my goodness. I bet Brooks knows him.
Cody, you know Cody Brooks?
Brooks, you know Cody?
Hey, Cody.
There. Yep.
Best friends.
Over
Michigan.
the years, how do you guys think you grew as a podcast? Anything from knowledge of the game to chemistry between you guys? Thank you. Shout out to Brooks from Michigan. Woot woot. Wow, he actually said that.
Oh.
So, do you want to answer that question?
Woot woot. Over the years, how do we think we grew as a podcast? I think it's
So maybe how has the show changed? How has our? I mean, that's what I'm getting. Knowledge or chemistry, things like that.
when you do we're coming up on our 500th show, right?
500th.
The 500th show.
That's such perfectly.
Well, in fairness, it would be our 500th show, so it's still accurate.
In fairness, I am right.
Yeah, I certainly haven't gotten better at English or grammar or just the human language at all.
The human language.
But we are coming up on our 500th episode. We'll probably have something special here. It's a couple weeks. Like it's
right around the corner.
Right around the corner. And when you have that many episodes under your belt, chemistry between the three of us is we know where we're going, and it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're doing live events or going elsewhere. There's no fears, no worries. And I would say, as far as how we have grown as a show, it's a testament to our fans. I mean, the Foot Clan, you guys listening, you have not just showed up to say, oh, I want to watch this and gather details and leave. You've been part of this community. And so, our show, I feel like, is a little bit more, it's got a really solid foundation because not of us, but because of you guys, the ones that listen and support and get involved on Twitter and support on Join the Foot. It's a really great mixture of the show and the fans.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that, other than the fact that obviously as the show has grown, we do our best to answer as many questions. You guys are very considerate of the fact that we can't answer every single question, so we really appreciate that. We do our best to get to as many as we can, and we are still very much extremely receptive to your feedback and to your thoughts on the show and things that you think work and things that you think you don't enjoy as much. And we're constantly taking a step back and kind of saying, hey, how do we make this better? How does our Wednesday show get better? How does our Thursday show get better?
And that's why Mike's gone this week. We
right.
got a lot of feedbacks, and
we need a break.
You need Jake Grizz in there and get rid of the homeless man with the beard.
You got to have a break from the beard for 5 or 6 days a year at least.
Yeah.
Or in Mike's case, how often he vacations, probably every other week.
Yeah, 5 or 6 weeks in Disneyland a year.
Right. So that's how we've gotten better this week. That would be the answer to that part.
There you go, Cody.
We love you, Mike.
Was that Cody's question?
Yeah.
All right.
Woot,
woot.
Woot, woot. All right, Mitchell. Ryan Lee says, what is Marvin Jones' rest of season? Is he matchup proof? Is he a must start?
I think
he's
now,
right around there.
Yeah. When you say, matchup proof, I wouldn't go to the level of saying, okay, you got to play him against Jacksonville.
Okay, but
well, let's take
for all intents and purposes,
let's take a realistic look forward, because this week he's
Baltimore,
in Baltimore,
Tampa,
at Baltimore,
Chicago, Cincinnati.
I mean, his worst matchup is this week in Baltimore, on the road, great corners, despite the fact that oh my goodness, did DeAndre Hopkins just torch them.
Minnesota has good corners. He put up 27.9 against Xavier Rhodes. Pittsburgh has good corners. Put up 15.8 fantasy points against them. New Orleans, 6 from 96 and a touchdown against Marcus Lattimore. Yes. So he's the 8th best wide receiver. I'm going to do a formal yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna be with you. The toughest matchups left are going to be this week at Baltimore and then championship week in Cincinnati, and I would start him in both of those weeks. So as of now, unless new information comes along, he's a must start.
All right, that is it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. We will be on jointhefoot.com later this afternoon. We have our Footcast, our exclusive Foot client-only episode. We really encourage you to come over, hang out with us year-round at jointhefoot.com, our fantasy football community for this independent podcast. We're appreciative of all your support. You guys are what make the show go. So thank you so much. Tune into that extra episode later this afternoon. For Jason, for Jay Grizz, for Judge Giamatti, I say farewell. Mike, we'll be back soon. Talk to you tomorrow. Draft.com/ballers for some DFS.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.